Today, we're going to dive into a concept that, honestly, might just change the way you look at your life. We're talking about the art of good enough and how we can move away from that constant, exhausting pressure to be perfect.
I mean, does this feel familiar at all? You're scrolling through social media, you're looking at your career, your fitness goals, even your hobbies, and it feels like you're on this never-ending treadmill of self-improvement, right? Always pushing for more, but never quite feeling like you've arrived. But what if that whole chase for perfection is, well, what if it's the wrong goal entirely?
So, let's dig into what good enough actually means. And right off the bat, we need to be super clear about something. This is absolutely not about settling for mediocrity or just giving up. It's a completely different way of seeing things.
At its heart, the good enough philosophy is all about giving ourselves permission to just loosen our grip, Loosen that white-knuckle grip on the chase for perfection, for everyone's approval, or for having total control over everything. It's about finding real peace in just having enough. This is such a crucial reframe. We often think good enough means settling for less, like we're giving up. But it's actually about settling into life. It's not about mediocrity. It's a sign of self-compassion. It's not about choosing to have less. It's about choosing to finally see and appreciate the value in what you already have. Psychologists actually have a term for this. It's called satisficing. It's basically the opposite of maximizing, where you drive yourself crazy trying to find the absolute single best option for every little decision. Instead, with satisficing, you set a realistic standard, a good enough bar, and as soon as something meets that bar, you're done. You can feel good about it and move on. Just think of all the mental energy that saves.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But how do we actually start doing this in our day-to-day lives? Well, it all comes down to making a few key shifts in how we think. Here are the 4 big ones. First, choosing contentment over this endless chase for perfection. Second, focusing on being present right now, instead of always striving for what's next. Third, and this one is huge, learning to practice self-compassion instead of constantly listening to that inner critic. And finally, aiming for balance, instead of always swinging from one extreme to another.
Putting these shifts into practice really means getting more intentional with your time and energy. Because let's be real, you can't be excellent at everything. Nobody can. So you decide what few things truly matter to you. Go all in on those. And for everything else, give yourself permission for it to just be adequate. That's how you start prioritizing your own well-being over some impossible standard of relentless achievement. So what's the actual payoff here? What do you really gain when you start letting go of this need for everything to be perfect? Well, the benefits are pretty amazing.
The payoff is huge. Seriously, you immediately start to reduce that crippling anxiety and decision paralysis that comes from perfectionism. And that frees up so much mental space. Space for gratitude, for being present, for actually enjoying what you have. It makes room for rest, for real connection, for reflection. You're basically trading that frantic external chase for a much deeper, more lasting sense of inner peace.
And that's the thing. A life of good enough isn't some second-rate consolation prize. It can be an incredibly wonderful life. One that's rich with meaning, connection, and a genuine feeling of satisfaction.
Because when you really get down to it, this isn't just a productivity tip or a stress management technique. It's a much deeper philosophy for life. It's really about how we see ourselves as human beings.
And this is where it gets really powerful. Embracing good enough is about embracing your whole self, not just the shiny, successful parts you post online. All of it, the mistakes, the messy bits, the parts you wish were different. It's about accepting that being human means you're a mix of good and not so good. And that's not just okay, it's the whole point.
Just let that one sink in for a second. To give myself grace to be perfectly imperfect is the key to wholeness. That's the goal right there. Freedom doesn't come from finally becoming flawless. It comes from giving yourself the grace to be exactly who you are, flaws and all.
So, I'll leave you with a question to think about. Just take a look around your life, right now. Your job, your relationships, yourself. What in your life is already good enough? The answer might just be the peace you've been looking for all along. Thanks for joining us.